All right, guys, I'm super pumped up because we have to talk about Tesla's Investor Day, but I want to do it a little bit differently than everybody else has whenever you're kind of looking out there for Tesla, Investor Day reactions and reviews and stuff like that. I want to do something just a little bit different because, well, the event created a lot of chaos. I mean, you had YouTubers freaking out, you had bulls that didn't like it at all, you had some other bulls that absolutely loved it, and of course the bears, I don't know if they were awake during the whole thing. They may have fallen asleep halfway through. Who knows? Well, I'll be honest with you guys, my take in my group honestly didn't make the bulls or the bears happy. I mean, there was a lot of discussion around it and a lot of, kind of back and forth and everything else in there. So I kind of want to bring, that insight to you, but just in a little bit of a different format there than we had in the group. So we're going to put a little bit of a twist on this and see what the biggest Tesla bear has to say, and then kind of discuss all the chaos and the points from there. I just ask in exchange for you to gently tap that like button and consider subscribing too. It's super easy to do if you like the truth without the hype. And this weekend is the final weekend to get your discounted spot to the Market Insiders private group, where you get access to 5 courses for free, all my buy and sell alerts, all my watch list with price targets, tons of discussion like my reaction video to the actual Tesla earnings day. It was about a 20-minute video or so in there that we did after I watched the actual Investors Day, and a whole bunch of other stuff like that, guys. And if you're not into that, cool. I also have an Essentials membership where you just get those videos like we just discussed, earnings reviews, earnings reactions, stuff like that. And you also get a free live Q&A with me once a month to kind of ask me anything you guys want. We can discuss anything and everything, including my love life, which, by the way, there's not really one. So just warning up front if you wanted to know that. Anyways, the point is the sale ends this weekend to get your membership, so make sure you check out the pinned comment down there. All right, so before we jump in this video here, I just want you guys to know I kind of excluded the bull from this video part. We're just going to basically react to Gordon Johnson, and then I'm going to give my take there at the end as to what exactly I think, what I agree with, what I disagree with, and such, so that way you guys can kind of hear it from me. And I'll be honest with you guys, it may make a few people upset, and that's okay. You guys come here for the truth, not sugar-coated, not Tesla's going to $3,000 per share tomorrow. I mean, that'd be great. I won't complain if it happens, but you guys come here for the actual truth. So there was some good and some bad, and let's discuss all those points.
That's the kind of bullish macro case here. Gordon Johnson, we know that you have not been the biggest fan of Tesla. In fact, you have a pretty dire outlook for the valuation of this company overall. The rest of Wall Street seems to be agreeing with you, at least in part, given the 5 to 6% drop in Tesla shares that we're watching right now on the heels of the Investor Day. So did anything happen yesterday to make you more bearish on Tesla, or are you a little bit more measured about it now?
Dom, thanks for having me. Pierre, good to see you. Let's talk specifics. So essentially what you had is you have a bunch of fanboys and Tesla cheerleaders like Pierre that are writing checks that they can't cash. And let me say specifically what I'm talking about. Headed into the much hyped Investor Day, Tesla talked about, or the fanboys talked about, either a new model being...
Boy, he's really going after the fanboys. We'll see if he says cult members. I think that's what he said in the last interview we did on the channel. So I don't know. It just seems like he's, oh boy. Yeah, it's Gordon, saying that Tesla's saying one thing. Oh, wait, maybe it was the fanboys, which I agree. Some of the Tesla bulls get a little bit over the top in regards to what they think is coming and what it means and all that sort of stuff. Not going to disagree there, but that doesn't necessarily make your bear case, where you're so far to the extreme the other way, the right answer either, Gordon. But hey, let's give him a chance here.
That they were going to talk about the severely delayed Cybertruck, when that was going to come out. They were going to introduce a new affordable $25,000 car, or they were going to announce new things around robo-taxis, which Kathy Wood had talked about a lot. None of that happened. In fact, what happened was, for 3 hours, Tesla spoke in vagaries, and you had a bunch of engineers.
Oh, there it was. Remember the last video? He told Ross Gerber all he talked about was vagaries and platitudes. I told you, it's like he looked up video or looked up words, in the dictionary, where it's like, I'm going to use these 2 words right here in every interview that I have here. He's just waiting for a spot to use them and such. It's kind of funny. I actually remember doing that when I was a kid, but anyways, nobody wants to hear about me as a kid, so just thought that was funny.
Come up and talk about things that Tesla has already done. And the CFO refused to talk about any numbers. In fact, he said he's not going to talk about Q1 and Q2. Why?
Now, I won't lie there, in terms of an Investor Day, that's probably a mistake there. Part of an Investor Day, and if you've seen these from other companies, we'll talk about it here at the end a little bit more. But part of that is actually discussing some of the things that are coming in the very near future. And then, of course, the big future, kind of like Tesla alluded to and got to as the presentation went on there. So I do see his point there. I'm not saying that I agree with everything else is probably going to spew out of his mouth, but right there, at least it was in terms of an investor day, a very, very odd move to not even answer questions about that, much less, discuss it in some manner, especially over a 4-hour presentation where you clearly had time to do it.
Why is he not talking about that? Let's discuss that briefly. Thus far this year, fundamentally, it has been a horror show for Tesla. What do I mean? They've engaged in margin-slashing price cuts. In fact, they're offering cars in China now in the $30,000 range. And despite that fact,
all right, so that's a classic Gordon technique right there. Basically talk about one side in terms of price cuts, but not actually giving you the why, what was intended there, and what was everything else that was going on around those price cuts. He's done that in the past. Whenever they actually raised the price, somehow he had something negative to say about that as well. So, I mean, you can imagine where this is going to go whenever we're talking about price cuts now. And he's going to leave out facts and basically only give you, the very small portion of the picture that fits his narrative.
8 weeks of the first quarter, if you look at their cars sold per day versus the first 8 weeks of the fourth quarter, it's down 20.1%. They are getting annihilated in China by the competition. And you're seeing the same thing in Europe where their inventory is stacking up despite aggressive price cuts.
Has anybody seen inventory stacking up for Tesla anywhere? I'm just curious. I don't know it. I haven't seen pictures. I haven't heard that at all. So just kind of curious there as to where he pulls some of this stuff out.
Let's just think about this, Tom. Let's just talk about the numbers. They did about just under $10,000 per car in profit in the fourth quarter. They've cut prices by about $6,000 per car. So if you assume they get $1,000 per car of price savings and modest price hikes, you're talking about an EPS number, assuming they could sell 1.8 million cars this year,
right,
of under $3. That's a multiple of 70 times earnings in an industry that trades at 6 times. Right now, Tesla is valued at more than the next 6 largest automakers combined, despite selling just 4% of the cars that those automakers have sold on a trailing 12-month basis.
Yeah, that's the classic argument there, and it's I agree at times the multiple for Tesla gets too high. However, big however, I don't really put Tesla in the category of the other automakers. Name me another automaker that has no debt. Name me another automaker that has those margins. So you're talking about a paradigm shift in terms of how automakers are made. And I understand Tesla's more than an auto company and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to get in that debate here. However, when I'm looking at Tesla, I don't go, oh, well, let me compare Tesla to Ford and let's see how they're operating and such. I do definitely tend to lean more towards, it's kind of a hybrid right now. It's kind of, I don't necessarily want to put it in direct competition with an Apple or something like that. However, comparing it against, Ford is utterly ridiculous too. The balance sheets couldn't be any different. Income statements can't be any different. Literally the financials could not be any more night and day different than what they are. So it's really not a good argument to have in the first place. Or really a good discussion in regards to what is valuation. Well, I don't know. Whenever a company is basically bleeding money and saddled with, tons and tons and tons of debt, is that really a good comparison to Tesla? I don't really think that it is. So, another one of Gordon's talking points.
All right.
And when you consider all that, right, they're struggling to sell cars right now, massive price cuts, margins coming down significantly, and 2 of their plants are running at 20 to 40% utilization. This is a pending, we think, problem for Tesla.
Okay.
And to speak in vagaries, as I think Pierre did, and not focus on those facts,
that word,
I think is why there's going to be some negative surprises later this year.
All right. Well, it's good to know that whatever happened yesterday hasn't changed either of your minds with regard to the bull-bear case on Tesla. With that being said, I'm going to give you the final word here. What is it going to take for Tesla to change your mind about this extreme bear case that you have on them?
Yeah, I don't think it's extreme. I'm just valuing them at how the automakers are valued. But when Pierre talks about 20 million cars sold by 2030, if you look at the amount of cars that Tesla sold last quarter, to get to that number, they would literally need to build a new plant every quarter, fully sold out for the next literally 12 years. Clearly, they're not going to do that. So you can't just throw these numbers out there and just put a multiple on it and say that's what it's worth. One thing. Number two,
Now, I won't say that that's completely wrong. It's going to be, now maybe there's a plan for it. I don't know. Multiple gigafactories going up at time. I have no idea. It wasn't really laid out that way. And obviously Gordon said 12 years and that's, we're only 7 years away from 2030. So anyways, the point being, it's going to be really, really hard for Tesla to get there. Now, do they need to get there, or is it just an epic failure if they don't? No, it's not an epic failure at all. However, some of those models and such, where a lot of, especially the bulls, where they have these crazy sky high valuations, have that inputted there. And right now, there isn't a clear roadmap to get there as of yet. Now, is that concerning? No, not really, not to me. However, I understand his point there.
Plan part 2 in 2017. Elon Musk said he was going to build a high-density passenger transport, and he said he was going to have autonomous robo-taxis on the road by 2020. They have not gotten anywhere close to achieving that plan. Elon Musk has said he was going to make ventilators. He said that he was going to have a $25,000 car. He said he had funding secured to go private. He said he was going to have 20 million robo-taxis on the road by 2020. I could go on and on.
Sure.
The point is, Elon Musk has made a ton of promises he has not delivered on. And when people say, well, he makes promises and then he delivers.
All right, Gordon.
Well, when he filed a 13G versus a 13D, when he put up the fake solar panels to justify the acquisition of Solar City, when he said he had funding secured, those weren't promises that he was going to deliver on. Those were just mistruths.
All
so
right.
To believe what Elon Musk says at this point, we think is like, believing the kid in middle school that said his dad beat Michael Jordan in basketball. I think Tesla has big problems.
They had to just start the music to cut him off because I don't think he was going to stop. He had the same talking points with Tesla that were going to come and going to continue to come, basically for the rest of the interview. And if they would have let him go, he would have gone for another 10 minutes. All right. So as you guys saw, Gordon was being ridiculous, Gordon and such. And that's, although he made some okay points in there, he's just over the top the other way. And I find it just as hard to listen to him as I do some of the bulls as well on Tesla. Not that some of them aren't entertaining, and they're hilariously entertaining. A lot of fun to listen to and such. But a lot of the stuff, it just is not realistic. And sometimes I wish that it wouldn't get put out there because a lot of times it puts you guys in a tough spot, or sometimes create projections that are more pie in the sky than they are actual reality and such. So for Investor Day, I'll be honest with you guys, I thought it was kind of a dud. And let me explain why before you blast me down in the comments. Please hear me all the way through, then you can blast me all you want to. But an Investor Day, lots of companies do Investor Days. It's not like this is the new thing. Lots of companies do Investor Days, and this is not normally how they go. Now we can say, well, Tesla's different. They do things different. Then call it something different, please. When you say an Investor Day and you invite all the investors into the, basically into the room there to ask questions and to get highlights and to get kind of the future of what the company's doing and such. Typically, you're talking about things that are happening short term, the next 2 quarters, 3 quarters this year, how they affect the company financially, how they would affect the stock. And then you talk about future things and how those will affect the bottom line and such. And of course, the further out in the future they get, the more and more vague the numbers get and such. But generally, you're trying to paint a picture for investors there as to, hey, this is where we are now. This is where we see ourselves going in the short term. This is where we're going in the long term, to kind of get them excited and into the stock. You can say it's not necessary. I'm glad Tesla doesn't play that game. Screw those guys. Whatever the case is. Hey, great. But Tesla's not a mid-cap stock anymore. It's not a small-cap stock anymore. It's a mega-cap stock, and you need institutional investors. Therefore, at times, you need to talk to those institutional investors and say things that they, I won't say understand, but things that they need to hear to go, hey, I want to put several $1 billion into Tesla stock. They don't need to convince us. They need to convince those large institutional investors to put that money into Tesla stock and to see that same vision. And unfortunately, when I'm thinking Investor Day, and I've seen plenty of them before, this was not what I expected at all. That was kind of the first thing. The second thing is that it was freaking 4 hours long, guys. An Investor Day, really they're an hour, hour and a half long. Then you have a Q&A session and you're kind of done. 4 hours is a really, really long time to hold people's attention, period. Even if it was a traditional Investor Day, nobody wants to slog through a 4-hour Investor Day. There's just too much there and such. It appealed to a very, very small audience. And again, you can say, hey, it's great. It appealed to those engineers, those tech types, just the long-term investors and such. And I'll be honest with you, the presentation was a turnoff for me as a long-term investor. Not that it, necessarily shakes my foundation in Tesla or where they're going, or not that at all. It actually showed me, hey, they're continuing to innovate. They're continuing to try to get better. The future of the company, they're going to be able to do things faster, cheaper, more efficient, which of course will return to me as a shareholder. So it actually made me feel better about that long-term in terms of, where the stock's going to be and in terms of me holding the stock. So in regards to it speaking to me as a long-term investor, it absolutely did. I didn't need 4 hours worth of engineering talk that a lot of it was honestly over my head and over most people's head. You can act like you're smartest guy in the room, but unless you're one of those engineered types or one of those folks who's really, really versed in this, a lot of the talk was over our head. And a lot of the talk was just too long. It was just a different type. That was a different presentation for a different audience for a different time. and that would have been a more appropriate venue for that. Even if you wanted to keep the, basically, and this is kind of talking with the engineers in my group, through DMs and actually in the chat and such, kind of talking with them, honestly, you could have taken that, condensed it down to an hour and a half or 2-hour brief, and then done the Q&A after that, and it would have been just fine. It would have been just as effective there. So, Tesla's not known for good presentations. I'm sorry, Battery Day was not a good presentation. AI Day was not the best presentation. There's a lot of things that people get excited about, but when you actually watch presentations from other companies and such, you start to understand how, it's just not a strong suit for them. Now, does it really affect the stock in the long term? No, over the long term, it won't. However, does it keep people out of the stock? Does it keep institutional investors out of the stock? Does it make a difference to the short-term price action and such? Yeah, it kind of does. And it's kind of one of those deals at some point in time, I think, and they are getting better. Trust me, it's not nearly as bad as it was before, but they still got a long ways to go there. And that kind of showed that they still have a long ways to go there and such, to making sure that if they're going to do these type days, you don't have to do an investor day. There's no reason to do it. So for me, that was kind of where, all right, you're trying to do an investor day. There's an expectation that comes with an investor day. And then, you don't deliver on that expectation. That's a problem. I'm not talking about the, hey, I thought they were going to announce $25,000 car, or that they were going to do this, or they were going to do that. I mean, just the core of what is an investor day. There's kind of a, there's a standard there as to what an investor day should be for a private or a publicly held company. And they didn't meet that at all. And that's, kind of one of those deals to where, as great as everything is there at Tesla, it's definitely a place they continually miss the mark on those sorts of things and such. And I don't really know why. And again, long term, it doesn't matter. However, it will make will make a difference here in the short term. So for me, no change in the conviction. There's no need for all the freak out. I didn't see full freak out videos, but enough folks were sending me clips and such of it that I saw part of it. There was no need for that ridiculousness. And then there was no need for, the opposite of people just being so excited that now my price target is, $8,000 on Tesla tomorrow and stuff like that. There was nothing there as well. There was things that as a long-term investor, I loved. I thought they were great and absolutely, I won't say raise my conviction in stock, but reaffirm my conviction in the stock. And then, of course, there was a lot of other things that I could see people pointing to and kind of going, hey, that wasn't really what should have happened there and such. So I kind of see both sides of that. So for me, long-term investor, hey, great was there. Yeah, the show itself was a dud, but there's no need to freak out about it and sell the stock or do anything else crazy like that, at least not for me. So anyways, hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if you guys like the format or not. You like it a little bit different there and such. And don't forget that the sale does end to get your spot in the Market Insiders private group, where you get access to me and all my buy and sell alerts and all my crazy videos about Tesla. If you want the full 20-minute breakdown of the entire event and all those sort of things like that, make sure you check out the link down in the description. And click this video here if you want to see the top 3 stocks I'm buying right now. And click here if you want to see my exact plan for this market this year. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.